This is your host, Tia. Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Top 10.
Live.
Geek Vibes Nation. Geek Vibes Nation. The Top 10. The Top 10.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another awesome episode of the Top 10 by Geek Vibes Nation. For tonight's episode and for all episodes, I'm your host, Tia, and I have with me Brittany. How are you doing this evening, Brittany?
I'm good. I woke up from a really long nap, so I feel either like I'm energized or I'm like gonna crash. But it's kind of the best feeling. I'll take fake energy over no energy.
There's a cafe that just opened near us, and they make really good iced coffee. And admittedly, I've been going to them like every day to get iced coffee, so I'm feeling more energized, but also my wallet is like, please, what are you doing? You have coffee at home. Help me. Yeah, exactly. So the struggle there. But I'm glad that we're doing this. And the subject that we're doing for this evening's Top 10 is a little different than normal. It is the top 10 streamers and YouTubers. I guess I should add top 10 streamers and YouTubers to watch. But you know, it could be in brackets, the to watch portion of that. But yeah, I mean, this is different, but I think it's kind of cool to kind of stray away a little from the TV and movie side, and it should be fun, right?
Yeah, I think that's like with those outlets, I think they've become so much like, for me, I don't even watch regular television, you know, I don't have like cable or anything, so to me, most of my entertainment comes from those sources.
Well, for me personally, I mean, I have actually been watching a ton of YouTube lately, but, you know, I rarely watch cable. It's Netflix and Hulu and all that stuff. I actually just finished watching the second season of the Harley Quinn show, which is on DC Universe, and it's going to go onto HBO Max soon, and that was really good. So I just wanted to point that out there because I literally just finished watching it like an hour before we hopped on the show. But really quick, Brittany, I hope you don't mind me taking a moment to kind of talk about this, and I'm not going to go into it too much, but I would like to say, before we go any further, a little PSA for everyone, and please excuse the beeping in the background. My boyfriend is heating up his coffee and the microwave's going off. But my PSA is, like, so recently I told Brittany this, I showed her everything. I recently got not bullied, because I'm a 30-year-old woman, like, you can't bully me. Like, I was bullied in like grammar school. I'm not going to be freaking bullied as a 30-year-old, but I recently posted a comment on Twitter about the upcoming Hawkeye series, and from there have gotten a few very ugly messages on Instagram. And I have to say to everyone out there listening, that's not cool. It's just fiction. It's just a TV show. It's just a movie. I'm allowed to have my opinion, and of course you're allowed to enjoy an upcoming show that I'm not looking forward to, but it absolutely gives you no reason to reach out to me and reach out to my mother and literally send death threats. And I know that's very serious, but the bigger conversation here is, everyone, just take a chill pill.
It's like, you imagine like those, speaking about like social media, like people on there and stuff, is, you know, when people are like, I got death threats over this, I'm like, apparently you can get death threats over any kind of opinion that people don't like, because when you showed me that, I was so like, well, one, I was scared for you, because even though I feel like there's nothing that will come from it, it does put a certain kind of fear into you, and I think that's so silly that it's like people get off on that sort of thing. And I'm like, could you imagine, like Dia said, it was about Hawkeye, and she's like, that makes me hate Hawkeye even more.
Well, and the thing is that I was speaking to my mom earlier today about it, and I was like, even telling the story sounds so ridiculous. I didn't post anything political, no religious beliefs, or anything that may be a hot topic for people. It is literally about a fictional TV show, and it sounds ridiculous that I even have to say something like that. The bigger conversation is that online bullying isn't cool. And it reminds me that there's kind of a lot of that going on like YouTube right now. So it kind of ties into what we're doing. But I just wanted to put that out here. It's something that I literally have dealt with today and yesterday. And I just wanted to let everyone know, just chill out. We are very passionate. Like, obviously, we write and contribute to Geek Vibes Nation, a whole platform that is very passionate about fictional movies and TV shows. But in the end, it's a fictional, made-up movie, TV show character.
Yeah.
It's
it's like where they say it's not even that deep.
Well, really quick before we move on, it actually kind of ties in some way. I posted the stuff on Twitter, not again because it's like, ooh, feel bad for me. I posted just to like bring awareness. And the main Damie commented under the post with the GIF, I think it's from Superbad, where Michael Cera is like, calm down, Greg, it's just fucking soccer. And it's like, that's really what it feels like calm down.
I think what gets me about those people, too, is like, that dude had plenty of followers, and not like even a follow-for-follow kind of account. And I was sitting there, I was like, there's people that follows this dude and probably doesn't even know that that's the kind of shit he puts out there. And even if you were, why would you not make a throwaway account for that shit?
Well, that's what I feel like some of them are doing, because I got multiple messages from multiple different people. So some of them did feel like a throwaway account, but the one that, like you're saying, that had multiple followers and posts and looked like a legitimate page, I did report them to Instagram, and Instagram said that they couldn't find anything on that page to warrant them, doing anything. So I kind of like did blast that on Twitter and go, that's great, Instagram. So you're just pretty much saying that people like this can exist and use this platform. That's cool. It's all right. I never even really had a following on Instagram. It's a throwaway freaking social media app for me. Not that I'm going to be pushed out of it, but I really don't care. So I just wanted to say that. But speaking of the main Damie, of course, Brittany, before the beginning of each of our top 10s, I always like to kind of give a shout out to the main Damie, especially in this time, because they really like stood up for me. And the one of the members, Anthony Del Vecchio, he commented underneath going, if this guy hates your shit, wait till he hears what I think about Hawkeye. So I like that. So the main Damie is a very good friend of Geek Vibes Nation. They have a podcast called Stranger Damies that they'd like for us to promote. So, because I know nothing about D&D, I always like to read their little script here so that listeners can, it makes it sound like I actually know what I'm saying. So, Stranger Damies is the ongoing real play D&D podcast from the main Damie family of podcasts. Join them every Wednesday as the Wild Stallions traverse the many traps and tribulations that Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition has to throw in their path. There's elves, weird half-dragon people, conspiracies to uncover, and more references to the 1980s than Ready Player One. Subscribe to the podcast on all podcast services by searching Stranger Damies, and make sure you follow them on Twitter and Instagram at Stranger Damies. Stranger Damies is also a proud member of Geek Vibes Nation, and you can, of course, find us at geekvibesnation.com. Except Instagram sucks, and I'm not a big fan of them right now. But anyway, you know what, Brittany? Let's just dive right into this. I'm excited. Again, it is the top 10 streamers and YouTubers to watch. So, Brittany, what's your number 10?
I think I'm gonna go with somebody I really enjoyed watching. And what's bad is I haven't got to watch her in a while. I'm gonna go with a YouTuber. I'm gonna go with Simply Nelogical because she has had such a growth. Have you heard of her?
Now, what is her name?
Simply Nelogical. So instead of
No
logical, simply logical. It's now logical. So,
Is that M-A-L or N-O?
like Nail,
Okay.
yeah, logical. The
Okay.
reason I enjoy her because so when I first started watching her, she was a nail tutorial YouTuber, and there was something about her commentary and the jokes she would make. She's Canadian, and she works for the Canadian government as a criminal statisticist. Like I always have trouble saying it, but she works with statistics. I'm like, can't talk today to you. But what's funny is that so she would always make these like she made nail tutorials fun, and you know I don't even do my nails, but it's like her personality is so fun that I found myself like, oh, I want to keep watching her. Well, somewhere down in her career, she ended up breaking her nail because she keeps them really long, and so she took a break from doing her nail tutorials to what's the word for it, to kind of explore other content. So she started doing like, oh, where she'd review little toys or, open her mail or, like just other stuff. And it was so funny because a lot of people were like, oh, you're so much like Jenna. You're biting off of Jenna. And she's like, no, like Jenna Marbles, which she will come to that later. But, but she's like, I love Jenna Marbles. She was like, she's part of the reason, like, she very much looked up to Jenna Marbles, so she did have a lot of those personality quirks like her. But what's awesome about her, I think, is that for everything she's been doing, she's never quit her job to do YouTube. She does both. She was doing YouTube full-time and her government job full-time, to the point that she owns her own business now. She ended up making a nail polish company. And, she did kind of take a step away from YouTube a little bit because she was kind of burning the candle at both ends, and she wanted to focus more on her podcast. But she was always telling people, she was like, for those people that are like, I'm going to do YouTube full time, she goes, don't listen to the YouTubers that are like, well, I made it so you can make it. She goes, that person was a 1 in a million chance. And of course they're going to be like, I made it, because they did. They're like, that doesn't mean you're going to make it. Please don't quit your job. And she's always like, please go to college. And I'm like, man, that reminds me of Tia.
Yeah.
I really enjoy her. I really enjoy Simply Nelogical.
I wonder if my mom watches her videos because, she does her nails a lot and she likes doing all of those type of crazy designs and all of that. So I do wonder if she watches Simply Nailogical. Like, for me, I don't really watch nail stuff just because it reminds me that I don't do my nails anymore. But it is so crazy, like, how talented some people are when it comes to their nail designs, because for me, when I did have like paint on my nails and stuff, I was getting them done, right? I was going and I was getting my nails done because I cannot do them myself for shit. As my mom says, it always looks like I just slapped the paint on there, and she's not wrong. Like, she's not wrong at all.
You're like, I didn't kind of throw it on there. Well, that was the nice thing is, like, she showed me, like, Simply Neological, which her real name is Christine. She always says don't spell it with an H because she's like, I'm not Christine. I am Christine, which I always thought was funny. But, she, like, I learned, like, about liquid latex that you can put around your nails. So even if you're messy, you just peel that off and you have perfect nails. Or, how to take care of your nails, peel off base coats, my love of hollow, because she always goes, it's hollow, because hollow nail polish, where it changes rainbow in the sunlight, and I think for me, whenever my brother's fiance, she, you know, we've always gotten along, but I was always like, oh, I don't know what we could watch together, and we ended up, I had kind of watched her, and so she got into Simply Not Logical. I remember we'd sit for hours and just watch, like rewatch stuff. I've probably rewatched so much of her shit so many times, but it's like I can't get enough of it because I just find it so, it's almost soothing to watch somebody do their nails.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And we'll get into, obviously, like, other type of soothing content a little later on in the list with my picks. But I completely understand the whole allure to watching something like this, even if you say necessarily aren't into doing your nails, right? It is just like a soothing process, but like it's soothing to watch, but for me, doing them is super stressful.
Right? I'm always like, don't mess up, and then your hand like goes full on like seizure, like it just like goes everywhere.
Or you do one hand really well because you're doing it, say, like I'm a righty, and I think you are as well. So it's like you'll do your left hand super well because you're using your right hand, but then when it comes to doing the right hand and you have to do it with your left hand, it's like, oh God, motor functions are not working right now.
It makes me want to slap my left hand and go, work, damn you, you lazy piece of shit.
Which is so funny. I know this has nothing to do with anything, but this is a funny story. When I was younger, I was into sports, which is so not how I am now. But I was on the softball team, and one game I really like fucked up one of the fingers on my right hand. I had like jammed it. It was like purple. It was inflamed. I went to the doctor. They put a splint, and they were like, you have to wear this splint for like a week or two, however long they said, and so I really couldn't write. So I was like starting to write with my left hand. So even now, like I'm not ambidextrous at all, but my writing, I would say, isn't so bad if I try with my left hand. Like I can try to do it. But as far as, say, doing my nails with my left hand, no. It's a complete, like, clusterfuck.
It's like, I can catch a ball and throw a ball with my left hand or throw a frisbee. I can do a lot of, like activities with my left hand, but not the fine details. Not the fine details. Of, like,
well,
when I see people, like, draw a butterfly on their fingernail, I'm like, burn the witch.
I don't even know why I didn't think of this. Because, like, since March, right, I've been working from home, so I'm on a laptop with the, the keypad. But when I was in the office, we have an actual physical mouse with the computer because it's a desktop. And I use my left hand because my mom's a lefty. And growing up, she was the only one who was using the computer, and my dad, like, hates wires. So he would, like, say, tape the wires to the mouse to go to the left side, right? So you really couldn't pull the and this is back when, like, mouses were, they weren't wireless. So you couldn't easily pull it to the right side. So you just had to get used to using your left side. So even today, I feel more comfortable with the mouse with my left hand than I do my right hand, because then I just use my right hand to, like, type or write or something. But people will see that and they'll go, oh, you're a lefty. I'm like, no, I write with my right hand, but I use the mouse with my left hand.
No. You weirdo. No, I'm joking.
I know.
It's just so funny that we don't even question that stuff as a kid. That's like my mom and dad, one of their best friends that they've grown up with forever. He's raising his granddaughter alone, like, well, with his wife, but like, not with the mother involved. And he's super into sports, And since this little girl was like born, he's been handing to everything to her left hand because he's in an attempt to get her where she could use both arms because
Oh, God.
left-handed sports players are better because you're not like especially competitive games like playing baseball because if somebody hits a bat from the like with like on the opposite side, it's harder for people to predict where the ball's gonna go. And I was like, that's some like dedication.
That is some investment there. But don't they know that all like left-handed people are the devil?
Right? I'm not a
Wasn't that the
Catholic. Isn't that the Catholics that believe that left-handed makes you evil?
That was definitely before my time. Definitely before I went to Catholic school. I heard about that very later in life, that whole, mindset, and I laughed because I thought to myself, how did no one laugh and think that that was utterly ridiculous back in the day? But, yeah. I love you starting this off with Simply Nailogical. I'm going to hit number 9, and I'm going to do a little bit of ass kissing and a little bit of internal promotion. I'm going to start off big here, all right? You ready for this?
Yeah, I got you.
So it's going to be a Twitch streamer by the name of Itty Bitty Brit. No, seriously, I thought to myself, that's kind of what inspired this list. I thought, why not? Let's do it. And I'll let you take handle of this in a second. But no, seriously, so I'm talking about Brittany, obviously. She is a Twitch streamer, extremely dedicated. Again, her handle is Itty Bitty Brit. And she just, what? I'll let you take it from here. Please explain what you do on Twitch. And I have to say, before I push it over to her, like, my mom always tells me, Tia, you do these 2-hour podcasts. That's so long. No one's going to listen to that. And it's like, if people can watch a 6 to 8 hour stream, which is what Brittany does most of the time, you can listen to my 2-hour podcast.
Oh, Tia, that's sweet. I'm not used to you being nice to me. I better take advantage of this.
You better take advantage of it. It's not going to last very long.
I would say, you want me to go in like about what Twitch is or what I've been doing on Twitch?
Both. I know that you've been playing The Last of Us Part 2. So what do you think about that? Because I've heard I'm not a gamer. I don't know much about it, but I have heard people kind of complain about it, but then other people not complain about it. So what is your kind of consensus here?
I think this is what it is, and I'm pretty fresh off of both of them because I played The Last of Us, which was the first one, and then a week later, The Last of Us Part 2 came out. And what's funny is I hadn't even planned to really set that up the way it did. I just was like, oh, I have my capture card back, which means I can play my PlayStation games and stream them through my PC for people to watch, right? Because you can't just do that offhand. Mm-hmm. Well, started playing, but this is what I think it is. And this is like spoiler alert just in case I missay, because everybody's trying to avoid spoilers. But The Last of Us was about a man who, it's at the beginning of this apocalypse, like it's like Walking Dead, right? You got zombies. But in this one, that zombies are kind of caused by like spores, like a fungal infection, which makes sense because, you see that happen to like the parasites and insects or like a fungus that basically controls them, right? Well, at the very beginning, this is where it's spoiler alert because, like, how sudden it is that his name is Joel and he has a daughter and he's raising her alone. Well, her name is Sarah. Well, she ends up dying right at the beginning. She gets shot because it's just this whole big thing. So it fast forwards 20 years in the future, and he's very hardened up. He doesn't want anything to do with really anybody except for Tess, which is this woman that you've kind of alluded that they're kind of romantically interested. Well, they end up taking in a girl named Ellie. which it turns out she's immune. And it's this whole long story about trying to get her somewhere where they can make a cure. And I won't go much further into that. But he is so hardened against Ellie that he doesn't want to let her into his heart because he lost his daughter, and he's been so survival mode for the last 20 years since his daughter passed away. And people loved it so much because of him breaking down his walls and how all of this felt like their relationship was earned, right? It was earned, and you felt good about it, and it was everything you needed. And it was following the story about, two people that have faced loss and their father-daughter relationship. The Last of Us Part 2 is still amazing. I'm trying to cut this down because I'm trying to answer your question, but with the most information I can, is The Last of Us Part 2, while it doesn't focus on the relationship of a father-daughter relationship, it goes more into everybody isn't truly good, even good people did bad things, and it didn't have the charm that the first one did. It's still an amazing story, still amazing gameplay, still amazing graphics, but it doesn't have the emotional attachment. It just feels like this one is just meant to hurt you for the sake of hurt you. And I have cried so many times in this game, I'm just ready to die.
Which is insane that a video, again, I know I keep saying, again, but I feel like I don't really want to repeat myself, but still, as a prelude, the video games that I played back in the day did not have stories like this, right? It was very, cut and dry, Me being someone who loved, say, the video game franchise SSX, right? Even though it had a premise and had characters, and especially with, say, SSX Tricky, they went very much into the characters and really developed them to the point where, there's, a shit ton of fan fiction for it that I may or may not have also participated because of the extreme character development. But that was it. The fact that it sounds like a movie and that people are crying while playing it.
A movie, I think, or a TV series or something, because it's so freaking popular. This thing has a cult following. I'm telling you, I couldn't believe the amount of people that came in to watch it when I was watching, playing the first one, because it's been so, I had avoided spoilers about it, so for them to get to see me have a fresh look at it, and it was so funny, because every time I cried, they're like, we're crying with you, I'm crying. And that's kind of I think, when a lot of people are talking about Twitch, and and I talk about it, and people are like, I don't get why people would just sit and watch somebody play games for hours. And I'm like, it's because you're getting to experience it with them. It's like YouTube, but watching them live and being able to interact with them. And for me, why I enjoy doing it is because I feel less lonely, especially when I was home alone. And Tia, you live in New York, Ansley. My other friend, she lives 3 hours away, used to be 4 hours away, and it felt like a bunch of friends sitting on a couch together watching me play a game and being able to discuss it. And I think that's kind of the great thing about Twitch, is being able to have a community where you feel like you're giving and taking by enjoying one another.
Yeah, and I definitely could get that. I was just saying, my argument was that a 2-hour podcast compared to an 8-hour stream.
I wasn't saying against that. I was just saying, for people that are like, what the fuck is Twitch? Or what the fuck is live streaming?
I will admit that I kind of also had those type of thoughts, and maybe kind of still do have those thoughts. It's not the whole Twitch thing. The concept in general. Because it's, at the end, it's like YouTube, right? My thing is, and you've explained to me, and I've seen, things that, explaining it and everything. It's just, to me, YouTube is different because it's when you get paid through YouTube, YouTube is paying you. Twitch feels sometimes a little less stable, and because you're relying on people to pay you. right? And Brittany and I have talked about this, but I think it's a good time to bring it up. I watched a YouTube video about like the worst Twitch streamers, and one of them being this girl who literally was screaming at her audience that they couldn't donate $5. And in my head, I'm like, you're not entitled to that at all. So why are you getting, like, no one told you to get in front of the camera. And then there's this other Twitch streamer who is like, oh, well, I'm seeing people in my comments who are saying, like, oh, they, you know, are in financial difficulties. Well, you know, then you shouldn't even be sitting here watching this. You should be getting a job. And it's like, yeah, you too, girl. You too. So, you too. So to me, it's like, I think that, and I'm not saying for everyone, because obviously I put you on the list, like, you know, and it's nothing against, like, Twitch streamers in general. It's just, to me, it's like the arrogance and the audacity for some of these maybe young people or even like older people who kind of like feel so entitled to other people's money.
And that's kind of the thing of it too, is I think sometimes because so with YouTube and stuff, you're getting your AdSense, your ad revenue, right? And you get a certain amount of that from Twitch, but subscribing allows someone to be able to not have to see the ads, right? And being able to interact right away. And most creators or most streamers will have, you know, emotes made that are specific for their channel that they can use everywhere. But I definitely get that, because there's been times where somebody will go, I'm so sorry I couldn't sub, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, it's fine. It's fine, because you're not, what's the word? Entitled to other people's money. That's why a lot of people push so hard for partnerships, because when you get partnered, that opens you up for sponsorships, which then becomes your stable income. That's why a lot of people are like, how can you try to go full-time? And that's why it's like, I've been very lucky and appreciative that everybody has been so generous, but I always have to tell them whenever they apologize. It makes me feel bad. I'm like, don't apologize. Or if they miss an hour of the stream, and they're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, don't apologize. It's cool. It's cool. But then I do see where it's already hard enough because of how Twitch can be, especially for... There is a stigma as a female streamer where it's either, you know, you do have the slut shaming, you do have, you know, this or that, because some people feel like some female streamers use it as a version of, like, say, an OnlyFans, but, you know, it less enough that they can be seen easily, right? And so it's because of negative things, and so when people do that where they're like, oh, you can't, it does make you look money hungry. And then it's like it makes us look even worse as, you know, when they do that, because it doesn't bother me about, say, people being scantily clad, because I'm like, oh, make that money. But whenever they do the begging or the meanness, I'm like, God, you're making us look really bad on a platform that's 80% men and 20% women. You know what I mean?
I just think it makes people look very childish, very bratty. And to me, I'm like, there are so many people out there who say, like, have talents and all of that, but don't have the means to, you know, become famous, or maybe don't have, say, the aesthetics to look a certain way, you know, and so therefore they aren't as popular. And it's like, but you're being so ungrateful. I don't know. Like, the other day on YouTube, I subscribed to someone, and they had, like, a button that said join. I didn't know what that meant, so I clicked on the join thing, and it's like for $4.99, you know, a week or something like that, you can get, and I was like, nope. I'm like, I have YouTube for free. Why am I going to pay this to, like, join? So maybe it's just me being cheap. Maybe it's just me being cheap, but that's just how I feel about it. But, yeah, I just wanted to get you on this list. So, Itty Bitty Brit for Twitch. She's literally streaming, what, tomorrow? Monday? Something like
Probably
that?
Monday. Take the weekend off. I was just... That's the hard thing about trying to juggle streaming with having another full-time job in college. Is you're like, God, I really want to play. But you also remember... as much as fun as it is, and a lot of people are like, you're just playing a video game. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. But imagine because you talk straight. There's not a quiet moment where you just sit and don't talk. It is 4 to 6 to 8 hours of just straight talking. And
That's why you need to become a mukbanger. Just an ASMR mukbanger.
That was funny because I have two friends. They're twins, and they're like, hey, and they're like, you should eat on screen. Which, speaking of someone on YouTube, Tea Time with Tia, you think I'm not going to shut you out? And then also you've been doing the mukbangs with your friend Cindy. I say your friend like I don't know her, but you know what I mean.
I was going to say, that sounded really, like, unnatural.
I know. I was like, how do I say this? How do I say this in a more descriptive tone?
Yeah, no, I mean, I have no, like, aspirations, really, to become, like, a mukbanger, per se. It's just something we do for fun. We put it on my, on my personal channel, TFAB, just because it's like, hey, we really, like, I love, and we'll, again, get into it later on the list, but it's like, I love watching mukbang. So it's like, why can't we just do it? But not in the sense of, like, I don't know how to describe it. It's just fun. Like, it's just fun what we want to do for that. Which it's like, but even then, like, we talk a lot. Like, we are talking throughout the whole video. And even, like, for a second when, like, say the two of us are chewing something and there's, like, silence, I feel so awkward. And I'm like, how is it for some of these mukbangers literally don't say anything the entire video, and then they just have to make, like, awkward eye contact with the video. So that's just it. But, yeah. Number 9 is Itty Bitty Brit. Brittany, what is your number 8?
I think I'm gonna go with a streamer, and I'm gonna go with a man named Mizkif, Mizkif. And
yeah, you're gonna have to, like, tell me how to spell all of these. So okay.
It's so funny with Twitch and their username, and I think why I enjoy this person, right, is because he reminds me so much of when I was growing up. And Dakota moved out, my older brother, and his house became like the gamer kid house, right? I would come over, there'd be like 6 PCs set up, it'd be burning hot in there because their computers are running so hot, and ordering shit ton of pizza and just playing video games all night, right? And you know how, those gamer guys are, they're silly, they're funny, but it was always a party all the time, right? And I think for me, the streamer, he doesn't take himself seriously. So he's starting to, like, thin out, right, with his hair. And everybody tells him he looks like an egghead. So you know what this dork does? He makes emotes of his face, but in the shape of an egg. And he has pillows laying around of, like, egghead pillows of himself. Like, this person does not take himself seriously. And what I like about him is that a lot of big Twitch streamers, after a while, they don't pay as much attention to their chat, right? Because you have constantly flowing. This is one of the only people I've seen where I have even been slightly acknowledged in the chat for saying something and getting a response for someone that has, like, 2,000, because he's big, but not as big as, say, like, Dr. Disrespect, who's having, like, 14 to 20,000 people watching him. He may have, like, 2 to 3 to 4,000 watching him, which is still a huge amount. But he's constantly checking chat, which is, it's hard when you have that many people. And a lot of times when people sub, paying the $5 to subscribe to them for the month, a lot of streamers won't even acknowledge it. They'll be like, thanks, blah, blah. But he will take the time to call them out by name, say thank you, say, it feels nice that it feels like there's someone out there that still actually cares about it, because there is a certain point where the charm of feeling like you connected with a streamer and getting to watch them starts to fade away as they get bigger because you feel like just another viewer. But I think it's impressive that he still has such great interaction and that he doesn't get offended by anything because and for me wanting to grow, hearing him go, at some point he goes to deal with the fact, he goes, that it is strange that I have thousands of people talking to me. He said, I just imagine y'all as one big entity that is my friend. He goes, because I can see the way chat sways, either angry, sad, funny. He said, and it's like, he's like, y'all are just my one big friend. And I'm like, you know what, that's good advice. That's good advice. I like that.
It is interesting also because, what was I going to say? It's interesting because it kind of piggies back to something that we were, say, talking about before, where, you know, sometimes these streamers stop paying attention to their chats, right? Or they become almost like borderline like arrogant and entitled with their viewers and their subscribers, but not, you know, it sounds like not with this guy. And it's like, it's nice to know that there's someone out there who is, you know, still like acknowledging the people who are essentially giving him money, right? And then giving him a platform to do all of this on. So, what kind of like video games and stuff does he play?
The big thing with him is, like, lately he's gotten into speed running, like, say, you know, in 64 Mario.
Yes.
He has been beating it in, like, 20 to 30 minutes, and that's one of the things that would be his personal best. But he really collects, like, old retro games. He loves collecting, like, the cartridges, like, say, like, the N64 and everything. It was actually sweet because he started crying on the stream because Twitch sent him I can't remember if it was, I think it was Zelda or it was Mario, that it was a video game worth like $2,000 to $3,000 that he had wanted for so long. And he just started crying on stream, and I was like, that's so sincere. And especially for, like, you know, when it's kind of like, oh, guys don't cry, you know, that's silly, you know, blah, blah. For someone to be so openly happy and touched about something was pretty sweet.
Aww.
I know.
I like that.
I know, and he's a big Just Chatting streamer, which Just Chatting is, as its name is, you're just talking to your chat.
You know, so really quick, I have to do this as like a an honorable mention, right? So I talked about the main Damie, correct? They kind of have an offshoot, like podcast, but also like, so it's called the Game Vault podcast, right? And it has Mark. Remember Mark? We did the Snowpiercer. Yeah, so Mark is involved with it along with Dan Aquino's wife, Jenny, and this guy, Tom. And Jenny is also like a gamer. I don't know if she's on Twitch or YouTube, but so it reminded me because I believe that they also do like retro games. I could be talking out of my ass, but go check them out. But it just reminded me like about the retro games type of stuff, like Mario Kart. I feel like that is something that I would love to watch. Like, as I said, oh my god, how many times can I say, like, you know me, but I like the retro games. I would much rather watch someone doing like Mario Kart, like N64, than say, no offense, like The Last of Us.
No, and that's me too. It is definitely a simpler time for those sort of games, like where it wasn't like, oh yeah, this and this and this and this happened, you know. Oh, but here's the plot twist. It was linear, and I think that's why those had such charm. Like Banjo-Kazooie, I love Banjo-Kazooie. I mean, you're basically tracking down a witch, and you're trying to like help your sister. You know, it didn't have like the deep emotional scars that losing your daughter can have, and how it turns you into a cold and callous person, and now you've done that. You know what I mean?
This is so off topic, but I feel like the only game that I felt like emotionally scarred from was when that one time when I was over at your house and we were playing Outlast. Well, not only did it kind of like freak me out, but also like the first player like thing made me so nauseous. I don't know if you remember that.
But it's like, oh, yeah, no, like the motion sickness gets me so bad. It gets me, because remember, we only played like 5 seconds of it, and I don't stream that because I started actually playing Outlast, right?
I
I
saw
started
that
playing,
on your
yeah.
I saw that on your thing and I was like, "Oh my god." Throwback.
I know, and I told him, I was like, now I played this for a hot second, right? I said I played this for a hot second, but but I got motion sick, everything else. I was like, no good, no good.
No good. But so your number 8 is Ms. Kiff. Did I say that
Yep,
right or am I totally fucking that up?
yep, you got it, girl.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so I mean, from what you were saying, sounds not like your typical Twitch streamer. No, no. People are gonna be like, with me saying that, but no, it sounds like a good channel to go and watch because I think that you should just support nice people. But I'm going to hit number 7. And mine is going to be on YouTube again. All of mine are going to be on YouTube, pretty much. And the YouTube channel is called Tiny Kitchen. Talk about things that are like therapeutic to me. And they're not the only ones who've done it. You can go on Instagram and check it out. You can go on YouTube. There's plenty of other channels, but I like theirs the most. And it is literally people cooking things on such a tiny level. So please, Brittany, first of all, tell me that you've seen this type of video before.
Oh, I fell down the rabbit hole at like 3 in the morning and watched until 6 a.m. I have done that. Tiny Kitchen's so cute, though.
It's
and
so cute.
they look legit, and I'm like, how did you make this work? And where did you find freaking like hummingbird-sized eggs that you're doing the cooking with?
Oh, that is the thing. It's like when you look at it, some of the stuff, like the eggs, as you said, and the little tiny knife that they do, and even the little tiny stove, like it is literally to the point of where, and I think it's so cute, where it has the stove and it's obviously like this little candle, right, that you would like put in something and he like lights it, puts it in, then like puts the little pan on it. Like, but it's funny because it's like you see it and you're like, all right, they can't be using, say, real ingredients. It's just like way on a small level. But no, he's actually using butter. The butter's actually melting. He's actually, or she, I don't really know if it's a guy or a girl or if, it's a bunch of people or something, but, they're making things like Philly cheesesteak. I even have, like, it up. I'm looking at their videos right now, and it is so adorable. Tiny risotto, tiny chocolate eclairs, and it's some of the, like...
With my own 2 hands.
That's what
like minuscule versions. I mean, I guess they don't have to, like, make super amazing, but, like, still, though.
No. That is exactly what I was thinking. I was like, I'm not even, like, a cook in regular fashion, and they are making, like, super legit, like, tiny broccoli and cheese chicken casserole. What? Tiny onion rings. It's so cute. It's so... and just the way they film it, right? No talking or anything. They just film the hands doing all of the steps in the cooking process. It's so therapeutic. It's so easy to watch. And I have to wonder, like, they have to eat this stuff at the end, right? And I wonder, does it even taste like? Like, if they're making a tiny, say, Philly cheesesteak, and you put it in your mouth, it's like, does it really taste like a Philly cheesesteak? And in that case, are you then disappointed that it literally was like a bite and you're like, damn, I wish I had the whole entire thing now?
That's like as a kid when you get Flintstone vitamins and you're like, okay, I want more. And they're like, no, that's all you get today. And you're like, well, what the fuck? I want more. It was good. And like, I was that kid that was like, I could eat a handful of those. It totally won't harm me. It totally won't give me over the amount, which I don't know how bad it would hurt you, but I don't care to find out.
So I don't know what the Flintstone vitamins were when you were a kid, if they were the gummies or the chalky ones, but I did not like the chalky ones. They were chalky when I was a kid. Now they're gummies, and I'm like, you bastards are so lucky because they were the chalky, like, hard ones when I was a kid, and I did not find them tasty at all.
I do not prefer gummy vitamins. Like, I do prefer where I'm like, do they have adult Flintstone vitamins?
They should make that, honestly. What'd you say?
I don't know why this just reminded me of, like, a blast from the past of, like, oh, Flintstone vitamins, but does it ever bring you back to a nostalgic moment where I was like, oh, yeah, I was the stupid kid that Mom said don't touch the hot curling iron, and I was like, I guess I'm touching this hot curling iron, and that makes me think of the vitamins where Mom would be like, don't take more than one, and I'm like, I'm going to take 2 or 3.
All right, so this is really random and off topic, but it reminds me of this. So when I was a kid, we lived in a different apartment than the apartment that, say, you came over back when I was still living with my parents. And in this apartment, the toaster, I'm so used to toaster ovens now because I've had a toaster oven for years and I haven't had an actual toaster, and having a toaster oven is just so much better. But my mom had a toaster and it was on, like, say, a shelf in the kitchen. And I don't know what she was making, toast, we'll say, right? And it was the type of, like, toaster that I think I don't know, I was a kid, right? So who knows the reasoning? Maybe it was one of those things where, like, the toaster was, like, pretty much janky and broke, and the only way to, like, make sure that shit didn't burn was to unplug it. Because I remember at some point she's, like, cooking, and she's like, Tia, unplug the toaster because, you know, the toast is going to get too toasted.
Maybe you didn't have a time.
Maybe. I don't know. Again, I was like a kid because we moved out when I was like 8 or 10. So definitely before then, right? And I went to unplug the toaster, and I guess I yanked it too hard, and the toaster completely fell. And tell me how my thumb got caught in the actual toaster.
No.
So I had this like massive burn blister in between my thumb and my index finger. My mom had to, like, grab me and, like, run me into, like, the bathroom and put my hand underneath cold water and everything in the sink. So I don't know why that just reminded me of that story.
Oh, poor little dumb baby Tia.
To talk about things that, like, you know, don't do that. It's like, don't yank the toaster so hard that you literally, like, burn your thumb.
Yeah, no joke. No joke.
Which, you know, if you are, say, cooking on a tiny kitchen, you really don't have to worry about that. So we got way off topic there, but my number 7 is going to be Tiny Kitchen because I feel like it's just so enjoyable to watch, and I probably am going to go through their latest videos once we get off of this podcast. So yeah,
I'm gonna look at it. I know I'm like, let's finish essay so I can watch YouTube videos.
It's the best. But Brittany, what's your number 6?
I'm going to go with a channel, like, this goes back to, like, therapeutic. I'm going to go with Odd Tinkering because since I was a kid, I was fascinated with people taking, oh, sorry, I was like, I hear loud noises. It's not the Odd Tinkering. Ever since I was a kid, I was really fascinated with, like, people taking apart game systems and seeing what was inside. And I always wanted to do that, but as a kid, you're like, I ain't gonna take my expensive shit apart just to see what the inside looks like, right? And so this guy, what he does is he gets old broken systems, Game Boys, GameCubes, N64s, and he restores them. And I didn't realize that you could take, I've learned so much from this guy. When you have a system or anything that's, old plastic, it starts to yellow, right? And it looks really weird. I don't know how it does it. I learned that you can put that shit in hydrogen peroxide and then put UV lights on it, and it bleaches that color out of it. Takes it just out and makes it look exactly like it did when it was brand new. And this dude is so, I've seen people that accept systems, right? And they'll be like, oh, I've got to replace this part because it's broken, right? Because, there's a short circuit. This dude is literally, he never talks. He never talks. And I kind of enjoy that he doesn't talk. I like just being able to read it and go along and just hear him working on it. But he'll actually solder new connections into the circuit board instead of replacing the whole thing. And I'm like, the amount of knowledge that must go into that and how interesting that is, I don't know, I just find him fascinating. And we had a friend over who, his name is Dillard, and he loves watching that kind of stuff. And even he was just like, oh my God, this is impressive. Just how he could work on it. And I don't know, he doesn't even do anything, I don't know if he resells them or what, but I guess he's very impressive, but man, I fall asleep to his videos all the time. I more than once have fallen asleep and looked at my phone playing on to the 17th video in a row, and I'm like, oh God, what have I done?
So as you were talking, I looked him up on YouTube and I subscribed because I love this type of shit. I really love the whole restoration of old technology. In general, I kind of love looking at old tech. I even have a Pinterest folder of old tech just because I find it so fascinating. So this is really cool. I'm looking at the videos World War II flashlight with rust holes restoration.
Yeah. I get more onto his electronics, but yeah, I forgot he does plenty of that too, like you said, the World War II, he's done matches, lighters.
No, it's so cool. He even I restored the $2 eBay junk Game Boy Color retro console, and it's I think that's so cool. When I was in kindergarten, something that we did was take apart old modems and keyboards, and I loved the idea of looking at that. And I remember I did have a Game Boy that once it crapped out, I did open it up. I mean, I didn't restore it or anything. I just really wanted to open it up and look at it. But I can see that that's what you would also get out of a page like this.
It's almost just therapeutic. I don't know if it's one, I just where they have no music, no nothing, just the sound of them undoing the screws. It made me want to buy an old system if I could find one super cheap, which they're hard to find that cheap, and just tinker on it. Because I'm I just want to learn. And it makes me think of my friend Ryan. He actually does that for phones. He restores phones, or he can do that, resolder the connections and all that. And I'm like, shit, that's impressive. I want to be impressive.
Yeah, I am not so much a restoration person. I just want to take shit apart. Does that make sense? I just want to take it apart and see what it looks like that way.
You just like to ruin something and then go, I'm done with it.
Yeah, no, yeah, that definitely. I used to take apart my Barbie dolls as a kid, which I've seen a lot of things on serial killers where they're I knew because the person was cutting the hair off of a Barbie doll, and I'm I used to do that. I just wanted to do it.
I knew it. You're the killer, which, oh, sorry, I'm like trying not to get off subject. Made me remember, doesn't Seattle have a new serial killer? And that's fucking terrifying.
I didn't know that, but thank you, Brittany. On to the odd tinkering.
Seattle.
I don't know if this is the same page, but I was watching another, again, I don't know if it's them or it was just another restoration page, but there was one day that I kind of went down like the rabbit hole of watching those type of videos because there's this one guy who took like this butcher's knife that was completely rusted over, right? Like, if you looked at it, you would think to yourself, why even put the effort? Just go buy, like... Huh?
I think that is the same guy because I've seen him do a big old butcher's knife that was completely rusted over.
It was completely rusted over. Not only did he get the rust off, but he gave it an entirely new, like, handle. And in my head, I'm sitting there going, again, you would just go and buy a new butcher's knife. But he freaking took the rust off. He sharpened it. He put a new handlebar on it. And I'm like, that is just... And, you know, that's what some people find really soothing and really fun, you know? It's not my thing. Like, I wouldn't do that for fun. I would watch someone do that for fun. But you hear people who are like, oh, this is going to be my Sunday project or something. And they like doing that.
Man, now I want to tinker with shit. Thanks, Tia.
Again, I only like taking shit apart. And I always have wanted to have a moment like Office Space. And for those who don't know what I'm talking about, it was a movie that came out in the 90s, actually including Jennifer Aniston in it, and dealt with people in an office, and pretty much anyone who's worked in an office has felt the mundane, soul-sucking vibe that they show perfectly in this movie. And there's one part where everyone's losing their job, and 3 of the workers decide to take the old fax machine that has never fucking worked for them and take it out to the yard and literally beat it to shit with baseball bats. And I'm like, I want to do that. I'm like, I feel that, like, that frustration of day in and day out trying to, like, fax something or trying to scan something and the piece of machinery not working, and that just overall feeling that you get where you're like, I would take a baseball bat to this and just go at it.
You know what, Tia? Next time you come to Arkansas, Mom and Dad do so much auctioning and come around really cheap shit. If I find a big old cheap fax, like either fax machine or printer, I will buy it literally so we can destroy it.
No, you know what I've always wanted to do? Have you seen those things where there are rooms that you go and you pay for and you just smash shit? I want to do that so badly.
I do too. I saw, like, they always have the cool shit in California like that.
What did you say?
Like, that kind of stuff in California, they have a bunch of shit like that, like the rooms where you can do that. And I'm like, I just need to go visit California for the content.
I have to see if we have something like that in the city or whatever, because I feel like if California has it, New York has to have it too. There has to be, like,
so
a room. Oh, yeah, fuck California. No, but... No, I love it. I'm so happy that you put this on the list because I literally went and subscribed and I'm going to watch it. This and Tiny Kitchen are just totally the type of therapeutic content that I feel like I need in my life.
You know what? I'm happy I could help, baby girl. I'm happy.
So yeah, that is your number 6, and I love it. I am going to take number 5. And I am going to do actually a mukbanger. And listen, I was trying to sit here like, oh, you know, if I'm going to put a mukbanger on the list, you know, who should I do? Because I do watch a few. You know, we have Zach Choi, and you have Dorothy, who's this South Korean mukbanger, you know, but they have such a huge following either way, so I feel like if you're into mukbang, you like know who the hell they are. But I am picking this girl. Her name is Peggie Neo, and she is from the Philippines. I just like her content. She is quirky. First of all, she's a fantastic drawing artist as well. She has a separate page for her artwork, and she does like pictures of Thor, Iron Man that are so realistic looking that you would think it was like a picture, right? But I'm sure we have, because I do like her. I try and show my mom her, and she's not really as big, right, as the other two that I just mentioned, but she does have like a pretty decent following on YouTube. But I think mostly so she's a mukbanger, and it's not ASMR, but she also doesn't do, say, a lot of talking. Like, she'll, intro it, like, hey, guys. Oh, she has 1 million subscribers. Good for her. But, she'll be like, hey, guys, today this is what we're eating. And then she'll really not talk for most of it. She'll just eat, and then she'll, kind of like maybe say something in between or something. So if you're not, like, say, really into talking, but maybe you don't want, say, necessarily an entire ASMR mukbang video, I think Peggie's really good. She also eats a lot of fast food, which I like watching because I, in general, do not really eat fast food. So it's kind of a guilty pleasure to watch her eating, like, these fried chicken sandwiches and all this stuff from, like, Popeyes and Wendy's. And again, she's in the Philippines, so a lot of it is, say, they have, in every country, big fast food chains have different food depending on the country that you're on. So it's so it's interesting to see her eating from fast food chains that we have here in America, but then seeing different things that, say, like, are on the menu. And then, of course, she does, like, ramen and noodle type of videos as well, which are, I think, pretty much like the staple for mukbang videos. But I mostly just like, and she loves sushi, which she's really adorable, and she even, like, says it, like, she'll write on her wall when it's time for, like, sushi. She pronounces it as shu-shi, so she'll, like, write on her wall, like, SHOO dash, like, SHEI or something. She's, like, she's so cute about it. And so she'll eat, like, all this, like, salmon rolls and everything, and I love sushi, especially salmon. I know, so, like, I love watching it. So, yeah, I just enjoy her freaking content. And again, like, she's not as, I mean, she has 1 million subscribers now, which is great. I don't think she always had that, especially when, like, I first started watching her. But she's been on YouTube for at least, like, 3 or 4 years now. She's, like, super sweet, really quirky, a fantastic artist. And I also love, by the way, before I, like, pass it on to you, she also, whenever, like, again, she's just funny. Like, when she eats things that are spicy, say the 2 times, spicy noodle challenge or something, she'd be like, time to destroy my butt. And I don't know, that stuff is so funny to me. So I really like Peggie Neo.
It's nice whenever you can see, like, I think, there's that stigma of, like, oh, you're a girl, don't talk about this, don't talk about that, be ladylike, and it's like, there's almost something freeing about when it's like, oh, I'm going to destroy my butt, or, or eating copious amounts of food. There is something almost, like, barrier breaking for it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, and I get what you mean, because she is very like that. Like, she's not, say, crude, but she does say things that you wouldn't necessarily expect. Like, a year ago or so, when I kind of first got into her, she was doing a review for Indomie ramen noodles, and she was saying that she had read online that people were saying that was better than sex. And just the way that she presented saying that, she's like, oh yeah, she's like, this is definitely better than sex. I just like, I just loved it. I just love it. So yeah, you're right. Someone who's like so like unashamed to go, oh man, this is going to destroy my asshole tonight. And I'm just like, I love that. I love that.
Oh, I love it. Now I want to watch people eat food. You know what? You've inspired me. I kind of want to have a stream of just buying a shit ton of sushi and just doing a just chatting stream while eating copious amounts of food. I mean, any excuse to eat a shit ton of sushi is good for me.
I also feel like that would probably get you a lot of views on Twitch, but it's like it's interesting our obsession with say mukbang videos because in a normal day-to-day basis, I think especially, and don't get me wrong, there are plenty of male mukbang individuals as well. Like do you know who Zach Choi is?
Yes,
Okay.
he was, because he was also involved with, like, not to go into that, but,
Oh, we'll get
with,
into that
yeah,
later. We will get into that
yeah,
later.
yeah. But I've watched a bit of him. I think I've seen a lot of his clips on Instagram, because when I was pipelining and I would get really bored, I'd just go through Instagram forever and watch people
Yeah.
eat and then just starve.
And star. But so my point of that is saying like, yeah, there are very famous like male mukbangers, but there's something like really freeing about seeing like a woman mukbanger and, you know, as a girl you're like told like, you know, don't eat too much, keep your girlish figure, you know, blah, blah, blah. And just to see like, especially Peggy, she eats a lot in one sitting, but I think she says that like she only does this say once a week, but it's a lot. Like I don't know how she finishes half of the shit that she finishes. She'll eat like in one sitting, say 4 Burger King Whoppers, you know, like 4 things of fries, some mashed potatoes, a pie or something. Not like a, you know, like the McDonald's apple pies, you know. And it's like, how do you eat all that? Like, even just once a week, you know, even if that's your only meal of the day, you know, how do you do that? But so there's something like so freeing to see that, and I just find it like really entertaining.
Oh man, now I gotta go watch all of them. I have to go find them too.
It's funny, before we move on, this one YouTuber that I watched, and I don't know how true this is, I'd have to look it up, but mukbang pretty much started in Korea, right? And he was explaining that the reason why it became so popular is because I'm guessing that, say, in Korea there's a lot of etiquette rules for eating. You know, don't be too loud, don't eat too much, don't, you know, put like so much food in your mouth at once. And like mukbang videos were pretty much like their way to be just so free in how they were eating, and it being like such a guilty pleasure type thing, which is like, I can see that because even like here in America, it's like, you know, don't put your elbows on the table, don't do this, don't do that. And it's like, man, I just want to shove my face like with food.
Oh no, that's kind of like when we ate from the, oh, what's it called, Mandarin? Like
Mandarin?
I was like, man, I just want to shove my face, but if I do, I'm gonna have a mouthful of toothpicks. And I was like, I felt like this was like appetite control.
No, so after that, whenever I order the toothpick lamb from O Mandarin, I just take all the toothpicks out first, so then I can just be a slob and just eat all of it.
Just take this, like, why let me order it without the toothpicks in it?
I feel like that started as it has to be like an appetizer thing, right? So you get like the toothpick lamb and you put it, say, out on the table and everyone can just reach over and like grab it on the toothpicks, something like that.
That's
But
people. I just want it.
I just want it. It was so good, that thing. But yeah, so Peggie Neo is my number 5, and I think that you should just go and check her out because I never hear anyone talk about Peggy when I hear about people talk about mukbang and all that. And I think that if you are someone who, say, loves fast food and you eat it a lot, or you love fast food but you, like me, don't eat it a lot, is, you know, to try and maintain some sort of diet, Peggy's videos will be very like therapeutic in that manner. So that's my number 5. Brittany, what is your number 4?
I think I'm gonna go with Markiplier. Now he's a video game streamer, but not streamer, YouTuber. Have you heard of him?
Markiplier?
Yeah.
No, never heard of him.
man, girl, he's one of the biggest gaming YouTubers that there is. It's Mark, like Markiplier, like pliers, like Marky Plier. But he's a part of the big reason that I watched him so much. He's so funny. And he has, like, great, like, voice acting chops. At least I feel like he always has such a deep, dramatic voice. And he's always very, blah, 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 blah. Very dramatic. But he really got popular when Five Nights at Freddy came out because the game scared him so bad that the reactions were hilarious. And what's actually interesting about him is that he's one of the only YouTubers I know that his merch, he actually, I think, if I understand correctly, he doesn't make money from it. I think he uses just enough to cover his merchandise costs, and he donates the rest to charity. And I think that's so awesome because he's basically sitting there going, hey, I make plenty off of what I do. And, he's been really a huge advocate for, mental health, about depression and people to seek out help for suicide because at some point, not to get depressing, but one of the times I came around was there were guys that would always come on his channel and really close friends, and one of them ended up committing suicide that, we saw on, YouTube videos, we saw on other YouTube videos, and it destroyed him. I think it was basically a big, it took him a while to get back to normal because, it would be like, one of us losing each other. It was pretty, so heartbreaking. I think that what made me more attached to him because I was like, man, you have the video games and you have where it's fun, and I know you have some people you watch play video games because it's like, oh, their reactions, they have such a good time, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's that he's so sincere, and I think he does try to do a lot of good. I think he's had some mishaps in the past that I'm not quite sure about. I always hear, that some people don't like him, and I'm not really quite sure because I haven't looked that deep into it. But he's still on YouTube. He actually did a video with James Charles, doing an obstacle course together, and it was actually pretty good. It was hilarious, actually. And I think for me it's nice to be able to see a different side of video game YouTubers because a lot of times it can be like, oh, I'm just playing a game and I'm funny and my reactions are funny. But it's nice to be able to see the real person behind the screen too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I like that he donates a lot of his proceeds on his merch to charity. That's something that's really admirable for people to do. I always see YouTubers who are like, go get my merch, and everyone has merch. And to me, it's like, say if I got bigger on YouTube, right, with my Tea Times with Tia, I wouldn't even know what to do for merch, right? Why would you want merch for me? So it's, admirable to see someone who does have merch, and instead of it kind of being there for, say, personal gain, it's there for more of a charity-like thing.
And I think it's especially nice when we see how, like you said, with the Twitch streamers or YouTubers that are very money hungry, and you can tell that they forgot the reason why they wanted to do these things in the first place. Because I know there's also a fine line. Because my end is say from a streaming aspect, I'd love to do it full time, but there's no way I'd be able to cover my bills off of it unless I was more stable. And so I guess that's why people get so hungry for it. They lose sight of why they did it in the first place. And I think it's nice for Markiplier to actually know that he's stable enough that he's like, yeah, I could probably buy a new car with this money, or I could, pay my bills for, a few months. But instead to be able to give it back was pretty nice.
Yeah, no, I like hearing that. I've never heard of this YouTuber before. I just looked him up, and I haven't watched any of his stuff, but if you say that he's, funny and has, like, good content and everything, I'll check it out, because as you said, we'll get into this a little later with, say, my next few picks. Even though, say, I'm not the biggest gamer, there are certain people who just make it so entertaining to watch. So, yeah, I will definitely check it out.
Yeah. Do it, girl. Do it.
No, seriously. But so Markiplier is your number 4. I'm going to get into the number 3, and this is someone that I have been watching a lot lately, and it goes definitely into things that I feel like you and I will talk about. But so the person on YouTube, their handle is Def Noodles, and that's DEF space Noodles. So his name is Dennis. He is, to me, hilarious. He describes himself as a comedian. I think he has done stand-up as well, but he wears like kitten ear headphones similar to the ones that you wear. And he has like these really like big like white framed glasses, but
watch him too. The name threw me off. I watch him too. Yes. Sorry.
Okay.
Yes, I've watched a shit ton of his videos. Like
I watch a shit ton of his videos. He does commentary on all sorts of things, such as 90 Day Fiance with like Big Ed and Rose's whole debacle, which I have been like crazily like invested in, and then also does things like the Hype House, TikTokers and stuff, and I love his whole thing because he's so like sarcastic sometimes, and he's the one who brought to my attention the whole like thing with the Twitch streamers who were there literally yelling at people to give them money, and he's just like, what the hell am I watching? He'll say. So he's like brought that to my attention, but the number one content that I enjoy, and it's so funny because he's also done a lot of videos, I don't know if you've seen this, Brittany, on Nikita Dragon, and her like whole show that she had on Snapchat, and I'm like, oh Jesus.
Well, I've watched so much about. I haven't watched him in a little bit, but he's the one I watched all the mukbang drama through. Like he's the one I learned all of that through.
Me too. So, okay, let me talk about it now. No, not saying, like, you know what I'm saying, but, so, he's the one who, alright, background, right? If you're into mukbang, and you, say, put mukbang into YouTube, or you put mukbang into Instagram, this guy comes up called Nikocado Avocado. And I've never watched his stuff because his thumbnails have always put me off. But I had no idea who he was. Yeah, I had no idea who he was until Def Noodles did. Like, he has done so many videos on him, and I have learned the whole scope of things because of him. And it makes it. I will never watch an actual video from Nikocado Avocado because I never want to give him my freaking views ever. And this is a 2-parter. This thing I'm like promoting Def Noodles, but at the same time like dissing Nikocado Avocado. Oh my god, the most disgusting human being I have ever seen have a platform. I watched Def Noodles commentary on it, and he like breaks it down because he'll always be like, oh, that that sweet clout, he just can't help himself. That sweet clout, and he'll do videos where, like, he's entirely, say, like, joking around about it, like, sarcastic, but when he did videos breaking down the whole drama between Nikocado and Stephanie Sue and Zach Choi, then he took more of, like, say, an investigative, like, commentary approach to it, so I learned all of that through him.
I think, like, for me, like, I do really enjoy his sarcasm, and where's he from? What is the accent for I make a joke about myself?
Wait, with Def Noodles?
Yes, Def Noodles.
So he lives in America, but he said that he was born in Brazil. So he mentions that a lot in his videos, that he is Brazilian. But he also mentions that I think he has an Italian mom because he's done videos where he like reacts to people's comments and they're like, "Why are you yelling?" And he's like, "I'm Italian. Of course I'm yelling." Which, as an Italian, I can totally get that.
I'm trying to figure out, is he from New York though?
I don't know where he lives.
Because his accent makes me think of the North every single time. Which, by the way, I got called a Yankee on stream the other day by my Irish friend, and I was like, I have never been called a Yankee in my life, but okay.
Well, I mean, to be fair, you don't have the, like, stereotypical Southern accent that I, like, and any other person that I know expected you to, and you certainly don't sound like literally anyone else in your life, so I guess that could be it. But, you know, what gives you away your dead ringer is your y'all. Us here in New York don't use y'all, but, yeah, I really enjoy Def Noodle's content just because he takes this, like, funny sort of comedic approach. But also, you know, like, he's done I want to go back to the Nikocado thing for a sec, but also want to mention, like, he has brought to light so many of these YouTubers that I had no idea about. Like, he's talked about Jake Paul before. He's talked about J Station. He's talked about this, like, woman who has, like, kids and pretty much was, like, starving her freaking kid. Like, some of them, it's like he's taking such a comedic approach, and I don't know how he does it, because some of them I feel are so abhorrent that, like, I want to turn off. If not for his, like, funny commentary, I would stop watching, just because, like, I don't know if you know who Jay Station is or if you've watched Def Noodle's videos on it, but, like, how he pretended that...
I didn't realize he was so bad.
He literally pretended that his, like, girlfriend died and then, like, did a Ouija board thing, or then, like, pretended to buy a slip... Then pretended to buy a slave off the dark web. Huh?
I was just laughing because I've watched so much Def Noodles that I knew exactly what you were talking about. Yes.
Oh my god. But, yeah, so, like, to me, like, how ridiculous is it? Like, from watching this guy, right, from watching Def Noodles, so you've learned all about, like, the Nikocado, like, avocado situation. I want to take more of a, like, I know this list has been so, like, lighthearted, but I definitely want to talk about that for a second, if you don't mind. Yeah. Just, like, that whole situation and, like, him being the quintessential, like, type of person on a streaming platform, say like YouTube or Twitch or something, that it's like they are so undeserving of the platform they have.
Yeah. And like talking about Nikocado?
Yeah.
Oh,
I just want to talk about him. Because I'm like, it's the same thing like when you and I had this whole conversation about Dear Girl like 2 weeks ago, and we just went in on it, and you were like, oh my god, thank you. I'm so happy that you, like, you know who the hell Dear Girl is so we could talk shit about it. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm so happy that you know about this whole situation because I need to talk about it.
I think like with the Nikocado thing, right, is I tried to evaluate how I felt about it at first. Besides the drama aside, why I find him so repulsive. And I sat there and I was like, it's not because he's eating, and it's not because he's overweight. Because a lot of people are like, oh, people are fat shaming him or this. No, it's how disgusting he is. Like, just it running all down his face, and like, I have enough trouble watching small children with disgusting faces and disgusting clothes. Like, it grosses me out. Like, even kids like drooling. I don't need to see a grown-ass man do that whenever I'm used to, like, mukbang, where, yes, I don't care if it drips. I don't care, that, like, he's so out of his way disgusting about it, is that it starts being repulsive, or, like, rubbing your stomach and rubbing your chest while doing it, or, because I've seen the clips, and even seeing the clips through drama videos, I'm just like, God, you're gross. You're gross. And, like, the allegations about him either being abusive to his husband or, using abuse as an attention thing to get more, stuff. That it's like he's the male Trisha Paytas.
Yeah.
And Trisha Paytas has done some fucked up shit.
Oh, yeah. I mean, what was the video that she came out as like trans, and it's like, you're not trans. You're just using this you're just using this to stay relevant again. Like, hasn't she done so many videos where she's like, I'm gay, I'm a Mormon, I'm a this, and it's like, it's just such clickbaity. What did you say?
She claimed to be a chicken nugget, and she also claimed that she was black.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, so he's definitely like the Trisha Paytas. Yeah, I can't help myself but talk about him because I just feel like I've never like witnessed someone like that before.
It's like a train wreck. You can't look away.
Yeah, I like can't look away. But again, like I refuse to watch his actual videos because I just don't want him to get the views. But to me, I'm just like, how does someone degrade themselves on video, so easily? Because to me, I'm like, it's all acting, right? It's all like 100% acting. He is not literally crying. Like, you're not crying. You are forcing yourself to cry, and you're probably doing edits where like you're sitting there and like you can force yourself to like cry if you really try hard, right? Him and his husband are just fine. All right, you can tell they're acting. It's like the worst acting ever when they do that. And they literally film it, and put it up on YouTube. And freaking, and he's just like, he thinks he's cute, right? Like on Deaf Noodles, he did this one thing where he like insulted Kobe Bryant, right? And he was saying like, oh, that basketball star who died recently, what was his name? Kenneth Bryant, and it's like, you think you're cute. And then he did like a follow-up video where he was like, I'm sorry to Kobe Bryant, but like purposely misspelled his name. And I'm like, you think you're cute. Or him putting down. You just want the backlash. Yeah, or him, like, dissing BTS. I'm like, you know how big the fandom for BTS is? And, like, you knew putting that in your title, like, I dislike BTS and K-pop, would get you so much negative clout.
Have you seen those memes where it goes, so you chose death? like, it reminds me of like those video games that are so freaking hard, right? Like Dark Souls, or games where they're notorious, like Battletoads, right? This is like going, you know what? I think I'm going to try the hardest boss of the hardest game, and then you run into the dungeon and it's fucking the BTS community just staring there.
But behind that would be John Cena. I don't know if you've seen, but like John Cena is like the biggest BTS fan ever, and he gets like highly offended when people like talk shit about them.
What the hell?
Have you not seen that? Oh my god, it was so great. He is such a huge fan of them, right? And there was this one talk show. I forget what'd you say?
There's got to be fan fiction of them. I know John Cena times BTS.
The best, okay, so this is why I say that, right? So he and this actress, I forget who she was. I've seen her in some things, but like she's not very known to me. So it was like him and this actress went on one of the late night shows, like, whatever. I forget. I think it was like, what's that guy, James Gordon or something like that. The British guy who does like the carpool karaoke. Yeah. So the girl, the female actress, right? So the host, I'm going to just say it's James Gordon, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but he pointed out that the actress had met BTS backstage previously at one of his shows and taken a picture of them, and he shows the picture of her with the people, right? With the are they a band or a group? Like what we count, I guess a group, like a pop group. Anyway, right. And you see, as James Gordon is showing this to the actress, you see John Cena, and he's literally doing that thing where it's like, where he's like, you're staring off to nothing, and he's like mouthing to himself, like, so lucky, and she goes, And then she goes, oh, yeah, I didn't really know who they were. I just saw that they had a lot of paparazzi around them and a lot of people around them, and I figured they had to be, like, well-known, so I want to take a picture. And John Cena literally was like, wait, you didn't know who they were, and you took a picture with them. And James Gordon's like, oh, you're a fan. He goes, I am a huge fan of BTS. He was like, I would have been honored to take that picture. He was like, and they were like, you're being serious. And James Gordon's like, you're being serious. And John Cena's like, yes. He's like, I love them. I love what they stand for. I love their music. Like, John Cena was legit. So I'm just saying, like, Nikocado has John Cena to face if he goes against BTS.
Jeez, that was not the ship I was expecting. But you know what?
I just had to bring that up because it's my favorite, fact about John Cena is the fact that he's such a BTS fan.
Oh my gosh. No, I'm going to have to look this up. I feel you could be trolling me right now and I would believe it.
Brittany, I swear, I'm not even. I'm looking it up right now, and I'm gonna try it. Yep, here you go. You don't trust me, you better watch this afterwards, or we gonna have problems.
Okay, I got you, girl. I got you.
For the audience who's listening, I am sending Brittany literally the video I was just talking about so that she can see that I'm not lying and that John Cena loves BTS. It, by the way, really, like, random, and I feel like this whole section has been random, so I apologize, but I never really liked John Cena in the past, not for any particular reason, but I feel like there was a time that whenever a WWE star went into acting, it was terrible. Like, no disrespect to The Rock. He's great now, but I'm in that age bracket that remembered when he was solely a WWE star and his first acting bit was in the second Mummy, and then he had his own movie, The Scorpion King, which was absolutely awful. So he did a lot of bombs, and he still kind of does a lot of bombs, but, that's neither here or there. Skyscraper, but so when John Cena was, like, first coming onto the scene of acting, I was like, oh, God, another WWE star trying to be an actor. But now I kind of like him. Like, I don't know, I've seen a few things with him, and I'm like, he is a better actor than I thought, and I feel like there's a lot of... What'd you say?
Good in Bumblebee as the military dude.
Yeah, and he's going to be in the Suicide Squad, so I'm excited for that. And I've seen a few comedies with him in it. My point is that anything that Channing Tatum is in, you can take out and then replace it with John Cena, and you'd have at least you'd have a better actor and a better looking actor too. So, and yes, that's a jab at Channing Tatum. I don't think he's a good actor. Ready for the hate mail and the death threats for that one. Before I go back to you, Brittany, and I'm sorry for taking so long with this one. Yeah, so if Nikocado Avocado is truly sincere in his videos, he needs help. But my point is that Def Noodles is wildly entertaining. I love his commentary, and he just came out with, I think, something today on the whole Shane Dawson controversy that is now coming back up.
Oh, this is insane. I've been drinking it up like milk. Like, I am all on it, girl.
Well, because I think, what is it? People are really upset that Jenna Marbles, pretty much essentially took herself off of YouTube. And people were saying that how does someone like Jenna Marbles, who maybe did like one or two videos back in 2012 like this, had since taken them down, feels really bad, has apologized for them, and she feels to the point where she needs to get off YouTube, and someone like Shane Dawson doesn't. And he definitely showed a lot of videos of Shane's that were like, oof, how did you think that those were funny even back then? And again, I'm 30. I lived in the era, 10, 12 years ago where being shocking and stuff was the entertainment. And even that, I was like, ooh, even then I don't know how you were, how Shane had a platform at that point with those type of videos.
I think, like, if it's okay with you, I'll go ahead and lead into my pick because Jenna is actually my number 2 or, like, my number 1.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So you would say that your number 2 is Jenna Marbles, which, is, before you go any further, really does kind of suck because I remember, like, Cindy really liked Jenna Marbles. Like, I've watched some I've never, like, really watched a whole lot of Jenna Marbles, but I loved the videos. Remember, that guy Brand Mondo, the one who does, like, hairdresser reacts to,
Yeah.
He's done a few videos on Jenna Marbles, like, ruining
I
her
bet
hair.
he has. I bet he has. 'Cause he had some experiences. I think for me is, and this will go into why I love her so much, is I loved a lot of her earlier videos, right? Like not those ones because I don't hardly remember like the Nicki Minaj one or the one with the Asian stereotype, that racial slang, but like, I remember, like, oh, shit, guys say, or, it was so silly, and it was, it was definitely different, but she's had such character development out of anyone. Like, she went from wanting to be very, and not that there's a problem with it, she was very sexualized, she did have that photo of her, like, in the football gear, and she always felt like she had to be just so. And watching her throughout the years grow and change, where she didn't feel like she had to do her makeup every day, where she didn't feel like she had to do her hair every day, how much she loved her dog. She became vegan, which, I'm not vegan, but she believes it so strongly and doesn't shove it. She feels she's able to educate without feeling like she's, like, what's the word for it? Not pandering, but also not on a soapbox to try to make you feel bad. She's just like, hey, this is my reason for doing things, and it's fine, because it's me. And even she said, I watched a lot of her video addressing things. She goes, I left those videos up because I wanted people to see how I had changed and how I've grown and how I've grown up as a person, right? And she really has, because I was watching her videos every week, like every new one. Like, I was devastated. Like, Amanda texted me crying, my soon-to-be sister-in-law, because we had bonded also how much we loved Jenna Marbles, and we'd watch those videos together. And to see her go, I wanted people to see how I'd grown. She goes, but the thing is she goes, people aren't looking back at those and going, oh, or seeing the timeline. They're like, she goes, my name's tied to it, and they're going, what the fuck did she do, She goes, so, she goes, I'm going to private those videos. She's like, I'm going to get rid of those. She's like, and she talks a lot about, like, and she's addressed this before, she was ashamed of those videos, and, she's been careful. She posted a whole long video crying upset because I think it was over a fish tank. She had bought the wrong kind or too small, and she felt like she hadn't done her proper research for an animal that she was getting. Or, people told her she had too small of a hamster cage or didn't have enough space. So, what she did, she went out, redid everything, made the hamster's home a lot bigger. It was like she's trying so hard to make everybody happy and be a good person that I think out of anybody who deserves forgiveness for things, it should be Jenna Marbles, because people are never going to feel the need to change and become a better person as if they become educated and they change for the better, but they still get absolutely destroyed and canceled for their past. And that's what a lot of YouTubers and a lot of community members of all sorts are saying, like, we were coming for Shane. We didn't want Jenna. And I don't know. I just think she's so sincere that I've never felt like she is the only person that a lot of times when I watch YouTube videos and there's an apology, or they're giving a statement, I always feel like I'm being lied to or manipulated to feel bad. But you can tell that she blames herself more than anybody could blame her. Like, it'd be her worst critic, and I think that's so hard to find in a big YouTuber, especially someone that's been around since the beginning.
Well, yeah, and I saw that someone said, that Jenna made a video apologizing about a fish tank. So it's like, do you really not think that she's sincere in this? We talked about how, before the podcast, how Dr. Disrespect getting permanently banned from Twitch kind of rocked the Twitch community. I feel like Jenna Marbles leaving YouTube is rocking the YouTube community because, while I never, say, personally watched a lot of her videos, just because it wasn't necessarily my type of content, nothing against her, but I know who the hell Jenna Marbles is. She's one of the OGs. There's memes about her. I think I've used GIFs of her. I've watched her videos, as I said, Hairdresser reacts to her destroying her hair, and they've always been entertaining to me. Her love of her freaking little weird-looking dogs, and I mean that in such a sincere way, because they're cute, because they're kind of, like, funny-looking,
Greyhounds, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, to me, Jenna Marbles just always came off as, like, almost a stoner chick. And I say that in such a sincere way because that I have absolutely nothing wrong with marijuana and think that it should be legalized across the country. And I'm like, she just looks like a cool stoner chick. Like, and I'm sorry, stoners aren't, like, really malicious people because they're high all the time and they think everything's great, So I'm like, how could someone like Jenna be, perceived as malicious when, in my mind, that's kind of, like, I thought, as I said, the cool stoner chick. And I don't know if she smokes pot or anything. I'm not trying to, like, accuse her of, and even if I did, I, again, don't think we all smoke pot. I don't think anything's wrong with it, You know what I'm saying? Like, so to me, I'm like, she always just seems so, like, laid back and, like, cool and stuff like that. And there's this other YouTuber, Jacqueline Glenn, who did kind of like a reaction to Jenna Marbles stepping away. And she kind of said, too, she was like, she was saying, Jenna's one of the OGs. She was like, she inspired me, of how personable she was, how kind she was, how she really put herself out there. And she said she was one of the OGs. She's been around for like over a decade. And it's like I think people forget, none of us are who we were 10 years ago. I'm 30. I certainly was not not the same person now that I was when I was 20, right? And it's like, people change. But how do you expect people to change if they are so bastardized and, quote unquote canceled over things that came out years ago, like literally in 2012. And it's the same way that I felt about the whole James Gunn situation, where it's like, he put out some inappropriate tweets, and as I said, 10, 11 years ago, the humor was different. And I think that's where that came from. And so I saw that with Jenna, and I saw the things that, first of all, on Twitter, right, you type in Jenna Marbles, I do not see one person talking shit about her. It is all a collective group of people distraught over the fact that she left YouTube. So I'm like, where are the people who were bashing her that made her feel like she needed to leave YouTube? Because I literally see none of that.
That's my thing, is like, she legitimately is just so well-meaning, and nobody pushed her to change. There was, I'm sure she said that she had taken some criticisms on her comments and stuff, but even me looking back, I was like, man, I don't remember hardly seeing anything. There was no, like, oh, I've got to change because people are going to see me in a certain light and I'm going to get canceled, because she had no reason to change. She just did it. And I think that's even more impressive than going, oh, I'm only this way in the public eye, and trying to be someone they're not. But I think she's such a good, sincere person that I don't know. It's sort of like, okay, Manny MUA. You know, his dad started out as very homophobic, right? And hated that his son was gay. And, you know, they had a lot of issues throughout the year. But, like, his dad came to accept him. He has such huge regret, you know, and he really accepted everything. He did, like, a 180. Like, he changed everything and really saw the error of his ways, right? And and the dad got emotional on a YouTube video saying how, you know, bad he felt and how, you know, he regrets how he was and saying how ignorant he was. And a lot of people were crucifying him. And Manny said the same thing. He's like, my dad literally did one of the hardest changes from a homophobe to being a decent person. And he's like, and you just want to be mean to him. He goes, why can't you allow people to change for the better?
Because people want to have this holier-than-thou righteous standpoint where they've always been on the right side of things and they're on their high pedestal, and if you know, had any sort of shred of that, you know, then you're a horrible person. But it's like, please live in reality. I think it's so admirable, you know, and I don't watch Manny MUA anymore for other drama reasons, but I think that's so admirable to have to literally have a parent who was homophobic and then turn around and say that that was so wrong of them. Like, that's what you hope for. Like, that's what you hope for, that people
that's the greatest character development.
But listen, that is what you hope for, right? You hope for people, like, you hear people who, you know, grew up, say, in the South and, you know, were insane racists at some point, you know, and then literally, you know, turned around and, like, saw the error of their ways. It's like, that's what you hope for. If you have someone who's sexist, racist, homophobic, you're hoping for them to see that that's wrong and then change. But it's like, how are they expected to change when they see that they won't be celebrated? They'll just be crucified for their past, you know? So I think that, and I've talked about this with, like, other members of Geek Vibes Nation, the idea of this whole cancel culture thing. You know, in some retrospect, you know, people should be canceled for, like, certain people, but people like Jenna Marbles, like, come on. She's been an OG. I have never heard one negative thing about her. And I'll say this. How the hell does Jenna Marbles get run off of freaking YouTube, but people like Nikocado Avocado and Onision are still on YouTube? Makes no sense.
Which, side note, just as a reminder to myself, I had a 6th grade teacher who was a history teacher, and he was explaining, you know, going through history, and we went through, you know, Civil War and, you know, slavery and everything. And he was talking about racism and how it's spread and, you know, it's taught. And he was going through and he's like, you know, he goes, I struggle a lot. He goes, and I've come out of it because his freaking dad was the leader of the KKK in that area. And I was like, that's some shit, like, to come back from being taught that way and growing up that way and being able to make up your own mind that, hey, that shit's wrong. I was like, dude, hats off to you.
Well, like, okay, 2 things really quick. Like, there's this story, and I forget the gentleman's name, but he was an African-American gentleman who literally, like, in his life, made it his mission to get white supremacists to leave the KKK, and he succeeded. He got, like, over 50-something people to literally leave the KKK because just by having a conversation and starting a dialogue with them had them seeing that it was wrong for them to be just so utterly racist. And I'm like, that's what you hope for. Like, that's what you hope for.
That's the dream.
That's the dream.
And, you know, that's why, like, people with, like, racial tattoos, you know, like, that are racist or, you know, anti-Semitic, you know, when people are, like, offered to cover them for free and give them a new lease on life, and some people are like, oh, they should have to live with their shame, and I'm like, let them change, because at that point, you're just, how are we going to make the world a better place if we just, like, crucify people forever? Because I think it's awful. It's absolutely awful that they did those things. But I think if people can show that they change, it's kind of like prison. You know, at some point we do prison, right? Even though I think the prison system is flawed and everything. But you're supposed to go in and, you know, once they feel like you serve your time and you're good and you come out and you be, you know, you're supposed to, I'm trying to think. That it's coming off as a bad analogy because I'm like, okay, the prison system's so flawed that any of this stuff to do.
You could talk about the prison system in, like, Sweden is great because apparently it's so reformed that they've turned a few of their prisons into hotels because there's so few prisoners.
Let's not go on the American prison system, my bad. Because I was thinking, I'm trying to go off of what it was supposed to be. You know, people are supposed to reform and, you know, pay for their crimes and then be able to go off, you know, and just be fine. Which obviously that's not the way it is in America, but you know what I mean. It's like
I do want to I definitely want to point that out that, like, the American prison system sucks, but the Swedish, like, prison system is apparently amazing. If you want to say that the American prison system is good, then it has to be compared to, say, like, Russian prison system, because I've seen, like, a few documentaries on that, and yeah, that's pretty bad, that one. But I mean, one last thing that I'll say is, you know, and I've talked about this with other members of GVN on different podcasts, but it's like growing up in a Catholic household, you're taught certain things, right? And I'm very happy to say that, like, no one thinks that way, right, anymore in my family. But it's, you know, I remember, like, the idea of gay marriage was something taught in a completely different way than what I think of today, right? And it was going to my first Pride parade that literally, like, sparked this idea in my head that I was like, I will forever fight for the rights for gay people to get fucking married, you know? But it's like, you know, and not to say that I was ever against it, because I wasn't. But it's like people grow, and it's like if it was before going to Pride and you asked me, like, you know, if that was a fight I was willing to, like, you know, fall on my sword for, I would probably say no, and I'd be, like, aloof about it, right? But it's like then you change because you see, you know, you're pretty much open to, like, a difference, right? And at that point then you're like, that's what it is. So to me, I'm like, I feel like that's how it is for, like, say, Jenna Marbles. It's like, okay, at some point she did a video, right, where she was pretending to be Nicki Minaj. And it's like in her, I don't know how young she was at that point, but thinking that that was okay. But she clearly saw that at some point that was not okay, even if she was just trying to make a parody video.
Yeah. And it's like, on that note, do you remember, and I think it's, like, awesome, the lengths that we've come from, even, say, when we were young, like, even though we're still young, but, you know, like, when we're, like, in our teens, or, like, before teens, and did you have that moment that it's like, my parents weren't like that, because we had people in our family, but, you know, definitely, you know, being raised in the South, and being raised in a Baptist, you know, community, you know, you had that moment where, you know, you really, like, would see things and you're like, oh, you know that, like you said, like, where you're like, people say it's wrong, but I don't see how it's wrong. And then you sit there and you think, and then suddenly it's like your brain makes up its own mind that you're like, this is fucking stupid. How can this be wrong? And you're kind of like, it's kind of nice that, you know, we've come so far where there's not as many people having that struggle where they're realizing, because I was sitting there the other day where I was like, how was it even a problem about, like, gay marriage? Why was this even a big deal? Why was this even a thing in the first place? Because it's so ridiculous, because now when we look back, we go, God, that was such a big deal. And now it's like nothing, and nobody's throwing a fit, you know, America didn't fall apart, you know, marriages didn't Yeah, it's like it didn't ruin the sanctity of marriage. You know what I mean? I'm just like, it's
No,
gonna
you are.
making, strides, but it is interesting, especially even us as kids, how it was even so much different then, where it wasn't exactly smiled upon, but us being able to form our own opinions and be taught a different way to go, yeah, hey, I don't feel a certain way about this, because like you, I was never against it, but when you're constantly taught something and you're like, but they're saying this, but I believe it's this way, and just trying to grow up as a kid like that. I think it's just nice that we've come so far.
It is. I think that's great what you pointed out. By the way, Brittany, um, like we don't even really think about it now because it's like it's just marriage, right? And there's a generation of kids who are growing up with that, and that's great. That was the goal. But before gay marriage came out, and I know this is like really off topic, but I love talking about it. There was this like consensus of like, oh my God, we're fighting for the morality of America. Imagine what happens if we allow gay people to marry. Things are gonna fall apart, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, that was so stupid. But you're right, like, again, growing up I went to church every Sunday. I went to Catholic school, and you're told, marriage is between a man and a woman, right? And I think I've told you this story. Like, I went to Pride, right? And the first year that I went to the Pride Parade in New York was the year that New York passed for gay marriage to be legal. And this was before then President Obama put it for the whole country, right? But this is when New York passed it. And I saw people who were together for 60 years, right? With signs, saying like, now we can finally, have a legal union. And I like sobbed. I sobbed so hard because I was like, I can't believe that it was ever taught. And I can't believe that people think that something like this is wrong. Because if you just saw what I saw, you wouldn't think that it's wrong. And if you see what I see and you think it's wrong, then you just have like evil in your heart. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, and I know that's so random, but I get very passionate about that moment because I feel like that was such a turning moment in like my views and in my life, because I didn't have anyone in my family who was gay. So I didn't grow up seeing that really. So that was kind of like my first experience with it, which is weird, me being in New York, but that's just really how it was.
No, I feel that. I completely understand. And like you said, that's the hard thing, because religion can be so good in our lives, but it can definitely be for the worst.
Have its negative effects.
Too. Yes.
But I'm sorry that, because we still have a number one. I'm sorry for the listeners that we just went on this huge tangent here. But I think the point is that this whole Jenna Marbles thing certainly has us very passionate and very confused. And I think there's a bigger conversation to be had, even further than what we've talked about and touched upon about Jenna Marbles. And again, as I said, if people like Nikocado Avocado and Onision are still on the platform, I don't fucking understand. So, yeah. But anyway, great point. We're down to the number one. I'm going to read off who we have before I get to it, okay? And I think it's a little more lighthearted, my number one pick, to help us wrap up the night. But so number 10, we had Simply Nailogical. For number 9, we had Itty Bitty Brit. Oh, I guess I should say the platforms that they're on. Simply Nailogical is on YouTube, right?
Yep.
Okay, so Simply Nailogical on YouTube, Itty Bitty Brit on Twitch, Ms. Kiff, who is, what are they on? Twitch. Tiny Kitchen on YouTube, Odd Tinkering on YouTube, Peggie Neo on YouTube, Markiplier. That's going to be so weird. Markiplier. Oh my god. Sorry, on YouTube. No, I'm just, it's hard for me to pronounce. Def Noodles on YouTube, Jenna Marbles on YouTube, and to round us out is my like favorite YouTuber who I can watch religiously. And you were talking about like what falling asleep to odd tinkering. I fall asleep to this guy, and it is Gray Still Plays.
I do it.
I love watching Gray Still Plays. So this is a gamer YouTuber who, in my opinion, takes like some of the most ridiculous games and plays them. Like he played recently a video game where it was about making bread. Like the most obscure games that I don't even know how they're made. And he like does them, and he's so hilarious. His commentary takes things like so seriously too with it. And just the shit that he does is ridiculous. He like has these video games where he makes amusement parks, and he literally is like determined to make it like an amusement park in hell. But one of the primary reasons why I like watching him is that he has a whole series on Sims. And literally every video is a way to get the Sims to die through various means. So he'll have where it's like, I saw, like, made the Sims, like, woohoo to death, or I gave them alcohol poisoning. Like, like the most ridiculous shit. Like, what goes on in his mind, I have no idea. Sorry, you were saying something, Brittany?
No, I was just laughing because I'm like, God, that sounds like sadistic 14-year-old me on Sims.
No, I know. It's like he literally just sees like what he can do to kill his Sims, and I think that it's hilarious. Like and also the names that he comes up with for his Sims and the type of situations that he puts in. Like he'll do I built a 1,000-foot hallway for my Sims, or made my Sims run on a treadmill to death, which, it does sound very cryptic and sadistic.
God with these Sims?
It's like he plays God with them, like, and he'll do these comments where he's like, Florida man is like, oh God, Gray, what are you making us do? And like the names he comes up with them, like one of them is like I watch so many that you almost start knowing like the characters already. Like one of them is
alive.
One of them is like Colino, one of them is LSD, Bab Ross, and just ridiculous. But the most important thing about Gray Still Plays and his like Sims series is that it made me really want to play Sims, to the point where Paulie was like, why don't you just buy it? And I was like, no, that's ridiculous. It's probably like something like $40 or like $60 or something. And I'm not spending that much on a freaking game. And then for shits and giggles, one day I looked under the Sony Play Store, and it literally was discounted to like $9. And I was like, well, shit.
At that point, you just got to get it. It's a sign.
It's a sign. So I did get it, and I play The Sims now because of Gray Still Plays.
Have you still been playing it as much? Because there was at some point, like, that's how I feel like with Valorant right now, is the way you felt with Sims, where you're like, can't talk. Sorry, I haven't messaged in hours. I'm playing this game.
I haven't played as much because Paulie has been playing No Man's Sky, and he plays it for the PS4, and The Sims is on the PS4, so I literally have to, like, battle him to the death. No, I'm joking, but I'll be...
Y'all need to start rock, paper, scissoring over it. But I have seen Gray Still Plays, and he is funny. Like he's definitely one of those guys that I was like, man, I want to do a YouTube series because they make it look so much fun.
He really does. And, from now, like, say, playing The Sims, it's like, I wonder what he does. Because, like, when I play The Sims, you have to make sure that they use the bathroom, they cook food, blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, does he literally just sit back and, like, let the Sims, like, with their own devices? Because he'd be like, oh, look what this one's doing. And it's like, for me, when I'm playing, I'm like, setting the stage for what they have to do. So I'm like, he literally just, like, sits back and, like, watches his Sims. But I will say that he is right. Sims are freaking stupid. Like, they're so dumb. When I watch his videos, he'll talk about how dumb they are, and I'm like, no, they are dumb. Like, they will literally pee on the floor instead of just going to the bathroom. Like, you have to tell them to go to the bathroom, or else they're just going to piss on themselves.
They're disgusting.
They're so gross. They leave plates out and everything. I just hate them, but I love playing it so badly. But yeah, so Grace still
get up and play again.
Oh my god, Brittany, on air, everyone, comment. Do you want Brittany to play the frickin' Sim? I would watch your Twitch streams if you started playing The Sims. I would love to see that.
I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, it'd be fun, but I'm like, oh no, it'd be bad. It'd be bad because I know what would happen is that some viewers would want to be like, oh, put me in there, right? Like some subs.
Oh,
and then if I make my character and they hook up, it's going to be awkward. It's going to be weird. It's going to be real fucking weird. But I kind of want it. I can make up fake characters.
I would love to watch, like, I'm telling you, Brittany, I'm being serious. I would watch your Sims play, but can I tell you really quick, speaking about that, of this one family that I'm really invested in on Sims? This is so random, guys. People are like, what the hell are they all talking about? But this is important, all right? This is very important. So when I first got Sims, I was making, like, a bunch of different characters, a bunch of different houses, and then eventually, now I'm just, like, so focused on this one family, and this is the history, right? So I made this one character, and I named her Lexi. And that's an inside joke with Brittany, right?
Yeah.
But I made this one character, Lexi, and one day I don't know where I was. Was I going to the supermarket? I don't know. I come back and Paulie's like, "Oh, I made a character," and I was like, "You made a fucking character in my Sims? God damn it!" But this is hilarious. So he made this character called Fitty because he made it look like 50 cents. 50 cents. Okay, this is the drama, right? This is why I'm so invested in this one family. So you have Lexi, right? And at one point, I had Lexi in a relationship with this girl, Connie, right? They were dating. I made them girlfriends. But then Fitty started coming around, and I had Lexi cheat on Connie with Fitty, and then I had Fitty get Lexi pregnant. So then Lexi and Connie broke up, and then Lexi got with Fitty, right? So then they had a kid, and then I had them have another kid, right? And then it was a while before I went back to that family. I was doing other families. So then I go back to that family, and I'm like, and so you have Lexi, right? Her son is, like, a teenager at this point, and, like, her daughter is, like, 5, and it's, like, oh, and I can't find Fitty, and if you look at all the Sims, it was, like, they're very sad, and I'm like, why? And it's, like, Fitty died while, like, I was gone. Like, I saw his urn, right? I saw his urn, and he died, and it was, like, everyone was mourning. Like, occasionally they'd go up to it, and they start crying, and I'm like, oh my god, and it's, like, Fitty died of old age, and I'm like, Paulie, what age did you make Fitty? Like, did you make him an old man? Like, I didn't even notice that. So, then,
oh god.
Lexi was a single mom to her 2 kids, and, she had to go to work and stuff, and I was like, Lexi needs some support here. So I moved in this new guy character named Sean, and then I hooked Lexi up with Sean, and then I got her pregnant again, and then she gave birth, and then I got her pregnant again, right? And now she's pregnant again. So my main goal is to just get Lexi pregnant as much as possible and just have a million kids. And I'm like, you can tell that the oldest son is like, who the fuck is this guy coming in and trying to be our stepdad?
I feel like it's just so funny that between that Lexi's the one having the million kids.
I know. The inside joke between Brittany and I, but it comes from a sadistic point that I just want her to, like, pop out a million children because she's, like, constantly tired, and, like, now all these babies are screaming everywhere, and now Sean, the stepdad, has to, like, deal with all of this, and he's like, I didn't sign up for this. I'm sorry. I'm wrong here. But what?
I said you do make me want to see this YouTuber play Sims, though.
I know. I'm sorry. It's like I forget sometimes that we're doing a podcast and Brittany and I aren't actually just talking on the phone with each other. I apologize for those listening about my Sims and my obsession with The Sims. But to be fair, I don't know. It's a lot of fun. And Brittany should definitely play The Sims. I would be obsessed. But, Brittany, I'm sorry that I just kept rambling, but I think that we did a good job. This was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with this. And so this was our list of the top 10 streamers and YouTubers to watch. Obviously, I'm sure everyone has their favorites, so please let us know what your favorites are. And Brittany, before we close out, please plug your shit.
I was gonna say you plugged me plenty, girl. You've been so sweet and kind. But obviously you can find me on Twitch at Itty Bitty Brit. If anybody's listening from Mixer and is having trouble making the transition over to Twitch, you can always message me on either Twitch or on Twitter, which is Itty Bitty Brit 0, because I know it's rough and a whole different beast with Twitch. But yeah, that's where you can find me. I've been playing The Last of Us 2, and hopefully I'll start, after Alien Isolation, maybe I'll pick up some Sims 4, because I do own it and a couple of the expansions for it.
Oh my god, this is why you need to play it. I don't even have any of the expansions. I'm on the basic shit, so yeah, but please... Please make sure that you check that out with Brittany. That was really great about the Mixer plug. If you are trying to make the transition, make sure you check out Brittany for all that good stuff. And then, of course, I've been trying to put out more Tea Time with Tia videos simply because there's been more frickin' trailers. So there's been more content to do. So make sure you check that out at Geek Vibes Podcast on YouTube. Of course, you can check us out at geekvibesnation.com, where it links to all of our articles and our videos, reviews, and stuff like that. So just make sure you check that out, and you can find me on Twitter at TFAB. Don't bother with Instagram because I freaking hate that platform right now. But as I said earlier in my podcast. But yeah, this was fun, and I look forward to doing more like these. So Brittany, thank you so much for joining me on this podcast, and thank you, lovely listeners, for doing so as well.
Thank you, guys. We'll see y'all next time.
See ya.